Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming today. I'd like to go over with you some information that I've gathered over the last few weeks in regard to dealing with difficult people, which many of us do at one time or another, and many times it's actually part of our daily communication. So let me go ahead and begin. Today I'm going to be going over, first of all, the introduction. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I'd like to talk about the people who are the difficult people. And next I'd like to go over why are people difficult. And additionally, examples of poor communication I'll be sharing with you. Strategies to deal with difficult people. And a couple exercises I have planned for you. Next, we'll be talking about the reflection on poor communication style. A little bit on market research and what I've come across during the preparation for this project. And we'll have a little bit of a group discussion. We'll end with a summary and evaluation part at the end. First, a little introduction about myself. I actually have worked in the customer service industry for much of my career life, adult life rather, and I have spent about 12 years of that in purchasing, working with vendors and so forth, and the other half of that in the educational area. One thing I'd like to point out is why it is important to understand and manage difficult people. At one time or another, we will come across someone who is difficult, and this could be at work, this could be at home, it could pretty much be any part of our life. And if we have the skills to be able to deal with those people professionally, it's a good reflection on ourselves. It could help us in promotions. At work, it could help create a very healthy personal life with family members and so forth. So it is very important to know these kind of skills. Something we want to accomplish today is, again, building strategies for dealing with these difficult people that we may come across. So first I'd like to start off with who are the difficult people. In general, it's actually everyone. We all wake up every morning, and most of the time we are in a good mood. Sometimes we're not, and I think that is the case for many people. But there are also other reasons people are difficult, not just waking up on the wrong side of the bed. You can something for us to realize is that we can be difficult people. We don't often connect that I can be a difficult person walking into a store that I want to exchange and it's beyond an exchange date. I could become difficult even though I see myself as someone who is not difficult. People going through hardships. We don't know what the story is. So it could be that they're just going through a hard time and they come across as difficult. And then I've listed some other areas here to think about when you're thinking about who the difficult people are, like divorce or someone with health problems, life challenges, and so forth. Maybe unemployment. Something I wanted to point out is who will benefit from this kind of presentation, and it's my belief that pretty much everybody will benefit, regardless of what type of field that you are in. These kind of skills will actually help you in that field. At one time or another, again, like I mentioned earlier, you're likely to come across someone who has a potential for becoming difficult. Okay, so now I'd like to go over why people are difficult. People are difficult because of stress many times. They're, again, I mentioned this already, but they have a lot going on in their life. Another reason is that they have a sense of lack of flexibility. They're fixed in the way that they want to do things. They don't want to change. They don't want to hear something that they're not used to. One other reason might be the chemistry between yourself and the person you're having conflict with. Maybe you just don't clash. So at this point, I just want to go over some examples of poor customer service. And I want to review these just so we have an opportunity to reflect on this later on in the presentation. Here's our first example.
Hello, are you the manager?
We are general manager.
Okay, the case here is that we have a registration form, and it says that we basically are committed for 1 month only, and then on this registration form, it says nothing about email, or you were notified by email that we have to call in to cancel. And also we did not receive the email, okay? So we basically have this registration form that says that we are registered for 1 month. And now you charge us 3 months through our credit card. And what do you think? Do you think this is reasonable?
Are you looking at the registration form?
Yes, I have this registration form right here, and I'll keep it in case I need to settle this case legally.
Yeah. In the registration form, it says step 1, choose a monthly subscription.
So that's 1 month or
No, it doesn't say 1 month, it says monthly.
No. You want
It says choose a subscription length, is how often we renew the account. Like if you choose 1 month, every month we renew. If it's 3 months, every 3 months we renew.
You know what? Let me read from this one. It says step 2.
No, what about step 1? You didn't read step 1.
What's step? Okay, step 1.
Start with step 1. Choose a monthly subscription.
Yes.
It's monthly subscription. It's not only 1 month. It's monthly, which means you go month to month. You're not the first user. See, this is the problem. We have over 800 users that came before you, and everybody understands the same thing.
No. Don't try to put me that.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to argue with you. We're going to give you 1 month refund, and that's it. If you have a problem, you can take us to court.
Okay, fine.
All right.
I will talk with, okay, fine.
Right.
Okay, so just a little bit of an example there for you to keep in mind for later on in the presentation. I do have 2 others. This one actually is just a little bit of comic relief.
No, Mom's gonna do the turkey. Yeah, Dad wants the ambrosia, so I guess we gotta get those miniature marshmallows. And I'll do the crescent rolls and we do the cranberry. You know I can't cook.
100%, I had a reservation. Do you have my reservation?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we ran out of cars.
Double bacon cheeseburger is for a cop, Your Honor.
What's that all about? You gonna spit it now?
No, I was just telling him that so it makes it good.
But the reservation keeps the car here. That's why you have the reservation.
I know why we have reservations.
I don't think you do. If you did, I'd have a car.
Don't spit in that cop's burger.
Yeah, thanks.
Your Honor, believe it.
Yeah, well, I'll see you tomorrow then. Gobble, gobble. Oh, bye-bye.
Give me a liter of cola.
A what?
A liter of cola.
Liter cola? Do you make liter cola?
Just order a large farba. I don't want a large farba. I want a liter of cola.
I don't know what that is.
Liter is French for give me some cola before I break loose.
All right, relax.
Okay, I believe you have to fill out a form for that.
No, I'd like my money back now.
I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. You see, I have to fill out a form and, well, you ate most of it already, so...
I'm sorry. We stopped serving breakfast, but we are on lunch menu now.
I want breakfast.
So you can't have it without serving it.
Mister, if you don't shut up, I'm gonna kick 100% of you.
Sir Paul here?
I'd like some breakfast. We stopped serving breakfast.
You know how to take the reservation, you just don't know how to hold it. And that's really the most important part of the reservation, the hold. Anybody can just take it.
So I actually like that example because it's a little bit of comedy mixed in with what we sometimes see every day going out to get our lunch, to go to the store to pick up something quick. We come across the person on the phone who is pretty much ignoring us. Another example, the other side of it is the customer actually being the difficult one versus the other person behind the counter. So just some other areas to kind of look at when you're thinking of examples. And this is the last one. By the way, all of these compliments of YouTube. And this is the bad and the ugly.
No, Mom's gonna do the turkey. Yeah, Dad wants them frozen, so I guess we gotta get those miniature marshmallows. How do the presents? No, Mom's gonna do the turkey. Yeah, Dad wants them frozen, so I guess we gotta get those miniature marshmallows.
I understand. That very good. Do you have my reservation?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we ran out of time.
Double pickup.
I understand. That very good. Do you have my reservation?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we ran out of time.
Double pickup.
No, Mom's
So
gonna
the reservation keeps the
Yeah,
coffee.
Dad wants them frozen.
That's why you have the reservation.
I know why we have reservations.
But the reservation keeps the coffee. If you did, that's why you have the reservation.
I know.
Don't spit in that cop's burger.
Yeah, thanks.
So actually, I double copied the link, so we're going to go on to the next part of the exercise. But before I do that, what I'd like to do is actually ask if anyone has any examples that they might like to share in regard to what they've come across, maybe at work or at home. Sure.
Actually, this morning I stopped by the store and I bought 5 items and I had 5 coupons to go with it. And the cashier scanned all the 5 coupons, it went through fine. And at the point of payment, my gift card did not scan through, so it didn't go through. And the cashier called her coworker over with assistance. And for whatever reason, that gift card just won't go through. And then eventually it went through. And that cashier inspected the coupons and stated that my items did not match the SKU on the coupons. Then she refused to let my items go through, and I just had to cancel my entire transaction and just walk out of the store.
Okay, and did you feel a little bit like the first example that we showed in that they, that you felt like the person was arguing with you a little bit?
Not necessarily argue, but just refused to honor the coupons, even though it scanned through, everything went fine. The issue was not with the coupons, the issue was with the store gift card that didn't go through. Mm-hmm. And they, I felt that I was being discriminated because I was using coupons, and she just gave me a hard time, and so I just had to walk out of the store and waste my morning.
Okay. Okay, that's actually a good example, and we're going to reflect back on that a little bit later in the presentation. So we've seen our examples. We sort of know who the difficult people are. Basically, it could be everyone potentially. What the reasons that they become difficult. So what I'd like to do next is actually move a little bit on to the strategies for dealing with difficult people. what I have here is actually, first, make sure that you're not the cause of the difficult behavior. That's something that is probably easier said than done. I think because many of us, including myself, we have a lot of habits that we don't realize we're doing. And we could be contributing to that difficult behavior. So that's one point. Another strategy might be to educate yourself on why people are difficult and understand their perspective. When I say educate yourself, this could come in many different forms. One especially that I value is using the resources around you. Talk to, if you're having a difficult situation, it's very helpful to talk to somebody about it. Let them give you some feedback that might maybe change it to a situation that might not be as difficult for yourself. So use the resources in regard to, in the form of people around you. Another strategy is to use the resources available through the library and the internet, of course, but the library especially I like because, for one, you don't pay for it. Two, they have excellent services where you can order from any branch in the area and transfer it to your convenient local branch, have them put it in will call. So basically, you're just walking in, picking up your will call followed by your last name, and checking it out. Within 10 or 5 minutes, you have resources that are very valuable in teaching yourself about some of these subjects. Educate yourself on why people are difficult and understand their perspective, and we talked a little bit about that. I know that that's important many times. In my case, it's important to find out what the background is. Many times you can't come out and ask what your problem is. You have to kind of strategically bring up questions that might pull that information out. It might help you understand on why that person is being so difficult. The other thing is research. There's a lot of research out there that is connected to why people behave the way that they do. One example that I have is a study that was conducted by, Erzur Khan. I apologize for saying that last name wrong. It's sort of hard to pronounce. But basically what they did is they tested some high school children, high school young adults, and connected that effective communication skills do improve significantly their social acceptance of their self in certain situations. So it was very helpful in understanding that there is a connection between having strong communication skills and the interpersonal skills that you have. Those interpersonal being at a higher level than someone you may meet on the street. Some people call this social cognitive theory. So that basically is that it's how you succeed in certain situations. So this study was positive in showing that. As with many studies, actually, there's always room for more research. In this case, the limitation was that it was in Turkey. Maybe the age group was the limitations, or how they posed the questions, and also interactions between their replies. And there's a lot of factors that can actually be researched to gain more information in that area. So in developing for dealing with difficult people, the first thing is practice. Look at the research. What is the research telling us? And there is quite a bit out there on this kind of subject. And then also actively listening. Probably one of the most important areas when you're dealing with difficult people is to listen to them and not fall in some of the pitfalls, like looking for information that they're sharing with you and prejudging, or looking for what they say to kind of pull it back against them. Things like that are habits that we fall into, that we have to be careful that we actively listen to, that we really listen to what the problem is and what they're communicating in order to get to a good solution for both. Something I wanted to go over is a little bit of an exercise on developing strategies. And it's a little questionnaire that we'll do. If you wouldn't mind just taking a few minutes and completing. Put some of these down here. So if you wouldn't mind, just ask a few questions on that. And just let me know when you're finished, because there's a comment that I want to make based on how we answer these. Okay, everybody about finished there? So here's what I wanted to mention about this. The handout is actually helpful in kind of triggering some thoughts into us, so maybe what we should be thinking about when we run into this kind of difficult person. What I'd like to ask is just a show of hands on, were there anyone who checked anything that was true in on any of those questions?
Yes.
Okay, a couple of you? Okay, so here's a resource that I found during the research for this project, and it's titled "The Skills You Need to Know to Handle Conflicts at Work, Home, and in Life, The Power of Positive Confrontation." Another resource from the library is by Barbara Patcher, and according to her, this is the questionnaire actually taken right out of the book, and according to her, if you've answered any of them true, then you've fallen into a negative confronting pattern, So a negative confronting pattern. So that's according to her and the research that she's done, that these are some of the questions that we should be asking ourselves before we deal with difficult people, but pretty much just something for you to keep in mind. The book actually is very informative. It's a fun book to read when you're in a role that you do have to positively confront people. So I did want to share that with you. And the other comment I wanted to make was to avoid the sacred cow syndrome. Every situation is different, and I think that many of us fall into certain patterns, or we see that other people do things a certain way, so we want to mirror that behavior. And I think it's important to remember that everybody is different, every situation is different, and when you approach a situation that might be difficult, think about that. Think about, am I responding in a way that is standard around the office, or am I really actively listening to this person while they tell me what the issue is? Many times for myself, that's exactly what I do. I sort of fall into a pattern. So this is something that I came across in much of the research that I did. So a little bit of reflection on poor communication. We reviewed the video. We've reflected on what we've covered. And we've talked a little bit about what are some of the situations in your case that you come across. one thing I want to mention is that improvement is continuous. I know that for every day for me, myself, I run into situations that are slightly different. It's always a new challenge, always a new situation. And that's good to remember because that means you're constantly changing, which some people are not comfortable with. So one of the points I wanted to make is based on what we've covered today, some of the information that I've shared with you, a question to ask yourself is, would have you changed the situation from the examples we talked about earlier? What would have you done to make it better or to change perhaps an old habit? In summary, the key to dealing with difficult people is educating yourself that difficult people can be anyone and to understand the triggers that affect difficult people. By developing strategies that will improve the outcome of dealing with difficult people, conflict situations can be managed successfully. Learn how to actively listen and avoid pitfalls and poor listening habits. There's a whole lot of information that is out there at the library. This one here, developing positive listening skills, is one I enjoyed. Another one is secrets of effective personal communication. It not only talked about the listening skills, pretty much every one of these talked about how important it is to effectively listen. And something that came up in all of these pretty much as well is that nonverbal communication is very important when dealing with difficult people. You need to learn to read the symbols and the signs that they're giving you, not just the words that they're saying. And a lot of times you can determine your strategy by understanding nonverbal communication. Well, that concludes my presentation. I hope you have enjoyed it. I thank you all for being here today. I do have an evaluation at the end, so if you wouldn't mind filling that out, that would be very helpful. And feel free to browse around some of these resources that I have here. Again, thank you very much.
Okay.